Hey everybody, Rob Maurer here, and today we are going to be talking about a variety of Tesla news. We've got kind of a lot of small stories. We've got Musk replying to NHTSA's request for FSD Beta. We've got some power disruptions causing some factory downtime in China. We also have the EV tax credit becoming official, and quite a few other stories to get through, so we'll hop right into it. Tesla on the day today did finish down 0.9%, closing just below $920 per share, while the NASDAQ was down 0.2%. So a little bit of an underperformance for Tesla on the day, despite the Inflation Reduction Act now finally being passed into law. So, as expected today, President Biden did sign that act into law. We're not really going to spend much time on that because, as we have discussed on many previous episodes, it is what it has been. No major changes here at the last second or anything like that. If you did miss this, we did a full walkthrough back on the July 28th episode, so you can go and, see all the details there to your heart's content. But obviously a major change for the entire electric vehicle industry today. Still things that we kind of need to sort through and learn from as we figure out exactly which vehicles are eligible based on their battery components and battery materials, battery minerals. Those are two requirements which split the credit 50-50. And then of course there are the income requirements and everything like that. So we'll still have to see in terms of eligibility how this affects Tesla specifically, but a major change and should significantly support Tesla's average selling prices for many years to come, as long as this credit stays around, which is scheduled till 2030. Obviously things could change with future legislation, but that is the current schedule. Kind of a follow-up on a story from yesterday. We had talked about how NHTSA has added a significant stake in Tesla. Wanted to update on that, or not that specifically, but we do have another filing here from Renaissance Technologies. So this is a huge quant firm, around $100 billion in assets under management. Sometimes, people may look at them for informing their own positions a little bit too. In the second quarter, they did reduce their Tesla stake. It was their most significant reduction. They had owned of their total portfolio, it was about a little under 2%. They cut that down to around 0.2%. So they reduced their position by 800,000 shares. Go over here. We can see that cut their position by about 50%. So the stock declined and they reduced their position. So now just about 0.06% of their portfolio. So Renaissance cutting, not as big of a cut as we had seen of an increase from NHTSA, but still wanted to pass that along. So it's not, not just trying to report on companies that are funds that had added Tesla. All right, getting into this NHTSA news, kind of a weird story. This isn't, I don't think, super important, but Elon did reply to this today. So just to kind of level set where this is coming from, there was an email that was published by Plainsight. So often that site will dig into court documents. They very clearly have an interest in sharing details that maybe don't reflect Tesla in the most positive light. So it's not maybe the most unbiased of sources, but oftentimes they're combing through legal filings and publishing things that they see in there. One of the things that they had recently published was a letter or an email from NHTSA to Tesla, and it talks about how NHTSA was requesting FSD Beta access. They were wondering why they didn't have it yet. They point out that they had a safety score of 99, including a score of 100 over the last 100 miles that they had driven. So just wondering if there's anything else that they could do to get FSD Beta. I think a lot of people were in that same boat. But this was from January. So even though this is surfacing now, 7 months later, this is a very old email. If NHTSA did maintain that safety score, likely they already got access by now on that vehicle. Tesla, even at that point, wasn't really rolling it out to scores of 99. It kind of had to be 100. So makes sense why they didn't really receive it, even if there was no special filter on NHTSA's vehicle or something like that. But anyway, Elon replying to that today saying with the laughing emoji, okay, we'll turn it on. Again, I think they probably already had it, but if not, Elon is going to grant that to them. And maybe that's a little bit of a hint at, perhaps Elon getting ready to, or Tesla getting ready to roll it out a little bit more broadly. He's talked about wide release as maybe a possibility for version 11. Most recently, we've been hearing Elon hype up version 10.69, which he again has done today, or rather last night, a little bit after we ended up recording, but saying, yes, the Tesla Autopilot and AI team are doing amazing work, and 10.69 will be worth its name. So I don't know that we'll see a wide release with 10.69. I don't think that we will. Elon said before when he was talking about how that wide release would go, that it would be something where they would push this out to the current testers, and then make sure everything is smoothly, and then maybe a week or two later go to wide release. That would kind of be the structure of when it is ready for wide release. Not saying that that'll happen with this version, but if it does end up being this version, that wouldn't happen immediately on August 20th when it's expected to roll out, which Elon is reiterating that date here. So anyway, I don't think this NHTSA thing is really all that important. Again, coming back from January, so I just wanted to kind of provide some of that context in case some of that was missed. All right, next up here, we've got an update on China. So we've talked about, maybe some risk this quarter, maybe some further shutdowns. Primarily, we've been talking about COVID, but another thing has kind of popped up here, and this is power shortages. So there's been some pretty intense heat waves happening in some parts of China that has caused some disruption to hydroelectric power sources, and that has caused power shortages, which has then caused factories to shut down. So we've got an update here from Reuters saying that Toyota is going to be suspending production from August 15th through August 20th. Industrial users in 19 out of 21 cities in Sichuan, China have been told that they have to do this just to make sure that residents are able to get the power that they need. So it is just a 6-day shortage here, or a 6-day shutdown for these factories. But it does look like this is a relatively important area. South China Morning Post, let me make sure I got the source correct on that. I think that's what this publication is called. Noted that this is an area that does have significant lithium supply, or lithium, a big part of China's lithium supply chain. And presumably with 19 out of 21 cities receiving this guidance, it does look like this would be probably something that does take a hit to lithium. Now, what we don't know is if that would actually affect any of Tesla's production. Again, just 6 days here, but 6 days is, at the rates that Tesla's producing at now, especially after these upgrades that Tesla's recently completed, that's still pretty significant. So something that is worth keeping an eye on. Hopefully Tesla has been building up a little bit of a backlog. Hopefully after these power restrictions are relieved, these factories can catch up on any lost time. But it is still a situation that's worth monitoring, especially if it does, get any worse or continue from here. I haven't seen anything specifically related to Tesla, but again, a number of different automakers reporting that they do have factories shut down for this short period of time. But hopefully, like we see here with Gigatex, this is a video from Joe Tagmeyer. Tesla, at least with castings here, this is a separate point, but with castings here, we can see that Tesla has built up a significant backlog of parts. This may just be, for the casting machine is outproducing what Tesla's general pace of production is, but Tesla, clearly in this circumstance is willing to basically create a safety stock of these castings. Point being, as we talk about this China issue, hopefully Tesla is doing that in other areas as well, just to kind of hedge against all of the supply disruptions that we have seen throughout this year. So we'll see how impactful this is, something to continue to monitor. Hopefully not too material, but definitely something that could affect production here from Shanghai in Q3. Again, though, as Elon had said in the shareholder meeting, at the end of the day, it's not really that important, right? We don't necessarily care too much about what Q3's production or Q3's earnings end up being necessarily. Like, it's important to see Tesla continuing to make progress. But at the end of the day, we're really looking at what their production rates are for future periods of time, not necessarily what they're able to accomplish in these 90-day periods. It's about understanding what they can accomplish in the next 5-10 years, and we get a better understanding of that as we move through the quarters. But short disruptions like this are immaterial to those 5-10 year time horizons. All right, next up here, we've got an update on Tesla Energy. So we talked yesterday about the Megapack XL and the updates Tesla has made there. This is more related to the Powerwall product. So Tesla is expanding, per Electrek here, expanding their virtual power plant offering. So we know they're testing a pilot with PG&E in California. They've got about 2,300, I believe, Powerwalls on that test project. Tesla is now expanding that to also offer a partnership for customers that are on South California Edison, or SCE, as their utility provider in California. So it looks like this is a very similar structure to what Tesla has done with PG&E. We don't know a ton beyond that, but hopefully it means more Powerwalls added to this virtual power plant project, and more learnings for Tesla, and continued expansion of projects like that over time. So good to see those Tesla Energy updates. We do have an update here on the Superchargers. This one, just right off the bat, I want to say is not as concerning as the headline makes it sound. So Handelsblatt here reporting that Tesla is operating the largest number of illegal charging stations in Europe. They say that the largest number of illegal charging stations in Europe because Tesla is not the only one that falls into, what category we're going to be talking about here, which is basically that regulations in Germany require public charging stations to have a meter that is visible on them, just showing the exact amount of kilowatt hours from a DC perspective that are being put into the vehicle. Obviously, Tesla displays this on the app, but I think the regulation requires sort of this third-party standardized meter just to make sure that there is no, skimming off the top in terms of the electricity that's being paid for versus the electricity that is actually being put into the vehicle. So Germany requires these meters. I don't know if it's so much of a display thing. The article here kind of makes it sound like that, but I think it's more just a matter of having these meters provided by a third party. Tesla obviously has never had to worry about that necessarily. So technically the superchargers that they have do not meet these regulations. However, what Electrek has reported here, the part of the Handelsblatt article is paywalled, but I think Electrek bypassed that or has a subscription. And they say that what Handelsblatt reported was that the illegal operation is not hindered and not sanctioned. It was and is being worked toward a lawful state. So basically, it sounds like the German government realizes that they have this regulation, but they're working with Tesla to find a solution and not just saying, hey, cease operations, working to come to a solution that hopefully works for both parties. I would imagine that they're working to get to a place where Tesla can install these meters. Hopefully Tesla doesn't have to go around and install display screens on every single supercharger because obviously the entire process is working through the Tesla app. So, we'll keep an eye on that and see what we have to learn. But at least, although this is a little bit bureaucratic, I think the rationale behind it, there is some logic there. And hopefully, and what it seems like is that they're working with Tesla to come to a solution that hopefully works a little bit better for everyone than, having to kind of be redundant and things that Tesla's already kind of doing through the app. So we'll see on that. Next here, we've got kind of a small survey. So this was done by Auto Pacific. They surveyed 600 potential vehicle buyers, and they were kind of asking about electric vehicles, autonomous vehicles. And one of the things that they asked was, what brands do you trust most to develop safe and fully autonomous vehicles? And they had companies in here like traditional automakers, but also companies like Apple that, maybe would be getting into the space at some point in time. Probably unsurprisingly to us, Tesla was the number one finisher on this question, 32% responding that they feel most safe with Tesla for fully autonomous vehicles. So despite all this conversation the last few days about these Dan O'Dowd videos, which I know we haven't talked too much about, honestly, I just don't think there's much of a reason to talk about it. Probably has been over talked about, but despite all of that, Tesla having a pretty good reputation in autonomy, despite some of those things that, are working against them from perhaps an agenda perspective. So anyway, I wanted to pass that along. Again, not a huge survey. I think they surveyed 600 people, but interesting nonetheless. And then the last couple of things here for today, just a quick update on the Twitter situation. So we know that Elon Musk has been trying to get some information through discovery for this Twitter case. Twitter has been ordered to collect and review and produce documents from their former general manager of consumer product, who was one of the people that Musk was seeking information for because Musk believes that this executive was one of the ones that was, quote, most intimately involved with determining the amount of spam accounts. So although the judge did say that of the 22 people that Musk requested access for this information, 21 of those were denied. Kind of all it takes is one sometimes, and if there is information here that is pertinent and potentially revealing in terms of the case, that could maybe lead to more discovery in the future too. So it's kind of a half win, I would say, for Elon, but definitely a lot better than not getting any access. Last couple things. So first here, as we had talked about previously, I think I'm not sure if we talked about New Zealand, but the first Model Y deliveries in Australia and New Zealand have happened. Tesla sharing out some photos of that today. Always nice to see those new markets being entered. A long time coming for the Model Y, obviously. And then we've got an update on Andrej Karpathy. It looks like he has quit Tesla to become a YouTuber. Saying that mostly in jest here, but Andrej has posted a video trying to walk through just sort of like the basics of neural networks and how they work, backpropagation, something that we've talked about with James Down on the podcast before. It's about a 2.5 hour video. I haven't had a chance to watch it yet, but Andrej says that if you have the most basic knowledge of Python and a vague recollection of calculus from high school, hopefully you'll be able to understand this video. So I think it, in more serious terms, I think it hints at what Andrej is really wanting to do. And, he has spent a lot of time in academia. Seems like Elon had mentioned that on Twitter, that when Andrej left, he was interested in doing more stuff with academia. Here, right after we see him leaving, he's already posting these, super in-depth 2.5 hour videos from an education perspective on YouTube. So definitely seems like that's just more of what Andrej is wanting to do at this point in time. So that, hopefully helps people understand that departure a little bit more. And then last thing, Elon tonight tweeted out that, first he said he's, to be clear, supporting the left half of the Republican Party and right half of the Democratic Party. We've talked about that before. Elon has said that, he's talked about starting a super moderate super PAC. So nothing too surprising, but I think a lot of people haven't really understood that because of some of the other tweets that Elon has had. So I think it's good that Elon has clarified that. But then he also added on here that he is buying Manchester United. You're welcome. I think Elon is joking here. It's kind of always hard to tell with Elon. Sometimes you think he's joking and then it turns out that he is not. But I think he's joking here. I don't know for sure, but I think this stemmed from when Elon was buying Twitter. People wanted him to buy Manchester United because I don't think Manchester United fans are super happy with the ownership that they have. Manchester United it would be a multi-billion-dollar purchase if Elon is serious here. Again, I don't think that he is, but they are publicly traded on the New York Stock Exchange. Looks like the market cap is around $2 billion. I think the actual valuation might be a little bit higher than that, though. I'm not sure exactly how the entity here is structured, so it might be a little bit more expensive than that. But if Elon did end up buying this, it would be not as sizable of Twitter in terms of an outlay or capital commitment. Probably not even really a blip on Elon's radar in terms of his net worth or anything like that, or capital requirements. But certainly not nothing either. So again, I think Elon is joking on that, but just wanted to provide some of the context in case he is not. All right. I think that wraps it up for today then. So as always, thank you for listening. Make sure you are subscribed and signed up for notifications. You can also find me on Twitter at Tesla Podcast. And we'll see you tomorrow for the Wednesday, August 17th episode of Tesla Daily. Thank you.